Was too fast. So welcome also from my side. My name is Isabel Fellner, and at the Swiss National Science Foundation, I am responsible for the programs PROMYS and MEPS, together with my colleague Timothy Ryan, who could not be with us today. A short overview over the presentation. I will first say a few words about the second Swiss contribution in general, and then jump right into MEPS. And I will specifically look at the eligibility criteria, the financial situation, the composition of the teams, the timeline of the call, the submission practice, the evaluation, and we will then have time for some questions. To the second Swiss contribution. The second Swiss contribution is a key part of Switzerland's European policy, and it is supposed to help fostering cohesion and stability in Europe and to consolidate and develop bilateral relations with the partner countries. The second Swiss contribution has an overall amount of 1.3 billion Swiss francs, and it runs until 2029. The funds will be used to support the EU 13 states, so those EU states that have joined the EU after 2024, and also some other countries facing major migration flows. The second Swiss contribution aims to reduce economic and social disparities in Europe and to promote measures to manage migration. You might probably know that the second Swiss contribution does not only consist of research and innovation programs, but there was really a whole menu of different possibilities that the EU 13 countries could choose from in their quest to cooperate with Switzerland, and depending on which area this cooperation is in, development of cities, water management, there are really a lot of different options, or research and innovation. A different Swiss agency or ministry is responsible for the funds. In the case of the Research and Innovation Program, it is the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation who distributes the funds, and it is therefore the SDC who mandated the SNSF to implement 3 funding instruments in the field of basic research. For some of you, it might be interesting to know that there is also an applied research part that is implemented by InnoSwiss. The 3 programs that the SNSF developed or adapted for the second Swiss contribution is PROMYS, the Promotion of Young Scientists in Central and Eastern Europe, which is a program that aims at giving the opportunity for assistant professorships for postdocs in Bulgaria. There is also SCIEX, a scientific exchanges program aimed at postdoctoral researchers and PhD students, and of course MEPS, which is the focus today and which focuses on more established researchers. Of all the countries that are collaborating with Switzerland in the field of basic research, only Bulgaria chose all 3 programs. PROMYS is already under evaluation, so the projects have already been submitted, and the SCIEX call will be opened in fall 2024. So if this is interesting for you or for your students, do keep an eye open for the opening of the call. In MEPS, the participating countries aside from Bulgaria are Croatia, Hungary, Poland, and Romania. Now let's go into the technical details. MEPS is a funding scheme that the SNSF developed to foster cooperation with the EU 13 partner countries, but also between the countries that are participating. The research consortia, I will say more on this later, have to include at least 1 researcher based in Switzerland and at least 2 researchers from 2 different participating EU 13 countries. In MEPS, we follow a bottom-up approach, meaning that you can choose whatever research area you are interested in, and there is no thematic restriction to the call. The maximum amount of funding per partner, so not for the overall consortium, but per partner in each country, is 350,000 Swiss francs, and the projects can run from 3 to 4 years. There is a common call office evaluating the proposals, and there is no common pot for the funds, so that means that the budget set aside by Bulgaria will only be spent on the Bulgarian and some Swiss researchers, but I will explain this a bit complicated situation later on. Now I will say a few things about the general eligibility criteria. Please be aware that each participating country has some specific regulations. So please, on the websites, do consult the call document and specifically the Annex 2 to the call document. There, each partner country has a section with the eligibility criteria that are relevant for that country. So what I am saying now is sort of the abstracted version, what counts more or less for everyone. I will also say a few more specific words on Bulgaria, but please, if there is any doubt, do really consult Annex 2 of the call document. And if there is still something that is not clear, do contact the national representative of your country to discuss your specific question. In general, from the perspective of the SNSF, applicants must be natural persons. So in the eyes of the SNSF, it is never an institution that is the applicant. It is really a researcher in his or her personal capacity. For us, this means, of course, that different researchers from one institution can apply for the call, but a researcher as a person can only apply for one project. Applicants must have obtained their PhD at least 4 years before the submission deadline, and they need to be able to scientifically independently conduct the project. They must be employed at a post of at least 50% at an eligible research institution for the whole duration of the project. And they need to have access to the relevant infrastructure. Now, some words to the general eligibility of the research institution. Here, it's the same situation. There are some national specificities, so please consult Annex 2 of the call document. But in general, the eligible research institutions are public research institutions and not-for-profit research institutions. Now to the Bulgarian eligibility more specifically. The applicants in Bulgaria must be representatives of higher education institutions under Article 85, Paragraph 1, Item 7 of the Higher Education Act. Please consider the Higher Education Act. And they need to be representatives of scientific organizations under Article 47, Paragraph 1 of the Higher Education Act. They need to have a PhD, and they need to have the right to supervise PhD students. I understand from my colleagues that the situation is specific in Bulgaria, so you need officially to have the right to supervise PhD students. The researchers in Bulgaria also need to have 4 years of research experience after finishing their PhD. You can submit a proposal to MEPS even if you have another Bulgarian grant or if you have applied to another grant. And one applicant can only submit one proposal to MEPS. Now to the eligible costs. As already said, each applicant in each country can request a maximum of 350,000 Swiss francs. This amount of money can be spent on personal costs, on travel costs, on equipment. The equipment costs can go up to 30% of the overall budget. Consumables, other direct costs. You can, if your consortium is interested in having a project partner, you can have one, but please be aware that you can only put project partners on the Swiss budget. But anyhow, they could be interesting for the whole consortium, but please put them on the Swiss budget. There is also the possibility for subcontracting. Subcontracting can go up to 20% of the overall budget, and subcontracting can be done with for-profit organizations. There is an overhead of up to 5% for the EU 13 countries, but Switzerland, the Swiss institutions cannot request overhead. Here as well, please consult Annex 2 of the call document for more details. Now to a few financial issues. Please be aware of the fact that the budget for the whole consortium needs to be submitted in Swiss francs in the online platform of the SNSF that is called MySNF. For the partners in the partner countries, that means that when you're calculating your budget in Swiss francs, please use the daily middle exchange rate of the respective national bank. Please also note that the social security contributions for everyone receiving a salary need to be included in the budget that you are submitting on MySNF already. The applicants in Bulgaria, Poland, Hungary, and Romania can request their own salary, but this is not possible for the researchers based in Switzerland and in Croatia. Now to the composition of the consortia. I already mentioned that the consortia need to include at least one researcher based in Switzerland, and then you can add 2 to 5 applicants from the participating partner countries, but only one applicant per country is possible. So this means a project, you can see the illustration here, consisting of a Swiss researcher, a Bulgarian researcher, and a Croatian researcher would be possible, but it would not be possible to do a project with 2 Bulgarian researchers and 1 Swiss researcher. So there always need to be different countries. And the next image shows that you can also go up to a total of 6 partners if they are all different partners. In the eyes of the SNSF, the Swiss applicant is the corresponding applicant. So this is the person that we will be contacting if we have any questions. But this does not mean that the Swiss researcher is the leader of the consortium, because in our eyes, all the applicants have the same rights and obligations regarding the project. I heard from my colleagues that there have been quite some questions regarding the matching platform that has been provided by the Bulgarian partner funding agency. So if you are still looking for 1 or even for 2 partners for your project, you can use this platform. I have put the link here, but you can find the link on all of our websites as well. The matching platform works in the following manner. You can create a rudimentary profile for yourself, and you can then use the platform to search for partners. You can see the search for partners button here, and if you click on this, you will see a website that looks like this. You can choose the partner country you are searching a partner in, and you can then put your research domain. This is a drop-down menu, so it will not be your very specific research area, but more broadly speaking, something like social sciences and humanities literature. And in the free text, you can then put some more specific keywords. You can then click on search for potential partners, and the platform is supposed to show you a list of people in the same research domain. So this all to explain that the platform won't be able to really show you the one person who does exactly your very specific thing, but you will find people in the same area and you will then have to discuss a bit with them. Would it be possible to work on a project together? Is this someone who does something similar to me? So it can be a useful tool if you're still looking for partners. Now to the timeline of the call. The second Swiss contribution needs to be completed on the 3rd of December 2029. This is actually the moment where the legal basis for the second Swiss contribution runs out in Switzerland. So everything really needs to be finished then. For MEPS, the timeline is as follows. The call has been opened on the 2nd of April 2024. There is a not mandatory pre-registration deadline on the 1st of May. So if you start working on a project later, you will still be able to submit it. But if you already know that you're interested in submitting, it would be useful for us if you could do the pre-registration, because then we can better prepare the evaluation process. The submission deadline then is on the 1st of July 2024 at 5 p.m. Swiss local time. So do mind the time zone change. After the submission, we will do the preliminary check. And if any information is missing or if there is a mistake, we will contact the Swiss applicant and ask for a correction. So I also remarked that this might be an issue in the discussion with the colleagues. If you make a mistake in the application, it really isn't the problem because we can correct it later. So the SNSF does not reject applications if something is wrong. Obviously, it's important to do it as right as possible, but if anything is missing or if there is a mistake, there will be a possibility to correct it, just not in the research plan. So all the administrative data, the budget, we can correct that. The research plan is the only thing that really cannot be touched after the submission deadline. We will then evaluate the projects and the evaluation will be finished in March 2025, and the projects can then start between April and July 2025. For a project that runs for 4 years, this would then mean that the project would be finished in June 2029 at the latest. Regarding the submission, all the projects need to be submitted through MySNSF, which is the platform of the SNSF. The submission deadline I have already told you. Please be aware, if you have partners in Croatia or Romania, these partners will need to submit a shorter version of the proposal also through their national systems. For Bulgaria, this is not necessary. Everything will run through MySNF. There were also some questions regarding the platform MySNF. I think for you to best understand how it works, it would be best if you ask your Swiss partner to already start working on a proposal on MySNF. The call is open, so this can be done at any moment. And you can then create your own account and the Swiss applicant can give you the right to work on the same application. There are a lot of data containers, you can see them on the left, where you need to fill in all kinds of relevant information, but there are always explanations on MySNF, so you should have all the necessary information on the platform itself, and if something still is unclear, we are of course always happy to help. There were also a lot of questions regarding the budget. We have designed MySNF for this call in a manner that each budget item that I have mentioned before can be selected for all the partner countries specifically. So if you have salary costs for a postdoc in Bulgaria, you can select the budget item, the specific budget item, and this really counts for all the partner countries and for Switzerland. So in this manner, it should be fairly straightforward to put the budget in a correct manner. To the evaluation criteria are scientific relevance, originality of the aims and objectives, appropriateness of the methodology and feasibility, track record and expertise of the researchers, and complementarity of the research partners. These are sort of the standard evaluation criteria we have in international, bilateral or multilateral calls, and they are not listed in the order of priority, so they are all equally important. We will do an international peer review and then select the members of the evaluation panel with the help of our partner funding agencies and ministries in the partner countries. This will be an international evaluation panel, but we will pay attention that there are representatives of all the partner countries so that the national research situation is represented in the panel. The evaluation panel will create a ranking list of the proposal, and with this ranking list, we will select the strongest proposal based on the scientific evaluation and the available funds in the funders forum, which is just a forum consisting of the scientific officers of all the funding agencies and ministries that are involved. The problem is, you might know this from other multilateral calls, where there is no common pot for the project, that it is theoretically possible that one country is represented in all the highest ranking projects, and that this country then runs out of funds, and this might make it necessary that we jump over some higher ranked proposals and fund some slightly lower ranked proposals, because some countries still have enough money to fund projects and another country probably hasn't. This is not an ideal situation, but it is simply inevitable with multilateral calls where there is no common pot for all the projects. I will not go into the details here, but this is an overview about the budget that each country has contributed to MEPS. This is really the amount of funds that can be spent on the research projects, so all the administrative costs have already been deducted. You can see here Hungary has a slightly smaller budget, Romania has a slightly higher budget, so there will be a different amount of projects that can be funded. I have to drink a sip of water because this really is the most complicated slide in the whole presentation. We wanted to give you an overview about the projects that can be funded in each country. Depending on the size of the consortia, Bulgaria and Croatia will be able to fund between 11 and 14 projects. Hungary will be able to fund between 7 and 10 projects. Poland between 10 and 13 projects. And Romania between 19 and 22 projects. If you now calculate with the 350,000 Swiss francs of maximum budget and the overall budget, you will see that it doesn't quite work out. This is because let's stick to the example of Bulgaria, because the Bulgarian budget will not only be charged the 350,000 Swiss francs that are foreseen for the Bulgarian researchers, but also half of the amount of budget that is supposed to go to the Swiss researcher. So for a project that consists of 3 researchers, the Bulgarian budget would be charged with 525,000 Swiss francs. This amount would then get slightly lower if there are more partners, because the amount for the Swiss researcher will always be divided by the number of total partners. As the calculation will already be quite complicated, the amount to be paid to the Swiss researcher will always stay the same, even if, for example, the Bulgarian researcher does not request the total of the 350,000 Swiss francs. In practice, this will mean for you that it is actually most advantageous for you to go as high as possible to the maximum possible amount of funds. This is something that is not important for you directly, but it might be very important for the Swiss researchers you are discussing with if you can do a MAPS project together. The Swiss National Science Foundation has quite recently installed a maximum possible number of projects that a Swiss researcher can have at any time. This is 2 projects in the national project funding of the SNSF, and a 3rd project if it is either a lead agency project, a WEAVE project, or a project in the International Co-Investigator Scheme. For you, it's important to know that MAPS does not count towards this maximum possible number of projects. So if a partner you are interested in working with already has 3 projects, they can still get the MAPS project as well, depending, of course, also if they have the personal resources to actually conduct the project, but legally it is possible. MAPS can be an additional project. Here is the contact information of all the national responsibles for MAPS. You can take a photo, but this information is also on all of the websites, so it shouldn't be complicated to find the right person to contact. With general questions, you can always contact me or Timothy at SNSF, but if you have more specific eligibility questions, it might be better to contact the national responsible directly. So I'm already at the end of the presentation, but in discussing with one of you before the presentation, I realized that it might be interesting for you as well to know that aside from MAPS, which is for now a one-off possibility, there are some other possibilities for Bulgarian researchers to collaborate with Swiss researchers that are always open. So in the national project funding of the SNSF, it is actually possible to do larger projects with 3 partners. There have to be 2 Swiss partners, and if there are 2 Swiss partners, a 3rd international partner can be selected, and this international partner will be paid with the funds of the SNSF as well. So this could also be interesting if you want to do a project with Swiss colleagues. We have also the scientific exchanges. Do not confound this with SCIEX. The scientific exchanges are a different, smaller program where Swiss researchers can apply for research visits. Either they go to another country or they invite researchers to come to Switzerland, and conferences can also be organized. So if you're looking to collaborate with someone and want to try the collaboration probably in a smaller setting, this could be a good opportunity to get new contacts. So that's it from me for now, and we will now go to the questions.